In the world of Arcane, there are many powerful and influential organizations. One of them is the Black Rose, which took root in the first season of the series. After the tragic death of her son, Kino, Ambassador Madada arrived in Piltover because her family is still threatened by the same very powerful organization from Noxus, the Black Rose. Yes, they are the ones who did this. What role does the Black Rose play in the fate of the world, and what are the consequences of its activities? Let us reveal all these secrets. Nowadays, the Black Rose is a secret organization based mainly in Noxus that seeks to rule the state from the shadows. It is the Black Rose that is behind a series of bloody events, from war crimes and massacres of civilians to coup d'etat, many of them. The organization's goal is clear: to establish total control not only over Noxus but over the entire world. The ranks of the Black Rose include representatives from various walks of life, from noble aristocrats to powerful mages. This ancient and cult-like cabal has been pulling the strings and maintaining control over the Noxian Empire since time immemorial, even before its existence. It is led by the Noxian aristocracy, who have been weaving intrigues and attracting rich and influential people to their ranks for centuries. Many of their luxurious designs include masks, so they can partially conceal their identities, even from each other. The cabal members follow the motto, "Trust no one." But still, this organization has one central leader. She's a mysterious pale sorceress named LeBlanc. For more than 14 centuries, LeBlanc, a master of illusion and deception, has ruled her secret organization. Her famous saying, "I am everywhere and I am everyone," reflects her almost divine ability to transform. She can create copies of herself and change her appearance in an instant, making her truly omnipresent. Through illusions and deception, LeBlanc subjugates the world. Her motives are unclear, and her personality is changeable. But how did she manage to become such an influential figure? I say we should dive into the story in its entirety and find out who, besides the Madada family, the Black Rose managed to cross paths with, because the history of the organization contains a lot of events and characters. Origins of the Black Rose. The origins of the Black Rose date back long before Noxus became the most powerful empire we see today. So from the modern story, we will travel back about 1500 years to ancient Noxus and meet the Iron Revenant, Mordekaiser. During his lifetime, he was a ruthless tyrant, and after his resurrection, he took on the form of pure steel armor. His enemies were firmly convinced that he craved only chaos and destruction. In his fits of rage, he methodically wiped out entire generations. In fact, Mordekaiser craved more. In the heart of his empire, he built the immortal Bastion. Most considered it only a symbolic center of power, and only a few had access to the secrets stored there. Mordekaiser wanted to find all the forbidden knowledge about spirits and death, to understand how the world, or worlds on the other side of life, work. Of course, such a despot soon had enemies. Ironically, he was eventually destroyed by the Noxi barbarian tribes in the betrayal of his subjects from his inner circle. This traitor was LeBlanc. She separated the Iron Revenant's soul from the armor and imprisoned the empty metal shell in a hiding place hidden from prying eyes. But as it turned out, LeBlanc was not acting alone. A little earlier, she had teamed up with Vladimir, a creepy wizard of forbidden ancient spells. Long ago, he managed to absorb the ancient blood magic and prolong his life. Legends say that LeBlanc and Vladimir feasted together as equals, weaving magic so dark that the wine at their table turned sour, the roses wilted, and the bright red color turned black. It was this meeting that laid the foundation for the famous Black Rose. And so, Mordekaiser was overthrown, and the liberated immortal Bastion continues to stand in the center of modern Noxus to this day. However, even as the barbarians built their own empire in the shadow of the Bastion, they failed to realize that the secrets it held were not completely locked away. The pale sorceress has always been gifted with illusions, and her greatest trick was to make Noxus forget the dark power that raged in its own heart. It can be assumed that at any moment LeBlanc could release Mordekaiser and end Noxus forever. Rise in influence. A century later, the records of the founders of the Black Rose were lost in history. It happened around the time of the Rune Wars. Even after history took care to erase LeBlanc and Vladimir from the books, this did not stop many powerful nobles, masters of magic and dark creatures from following their orders, creating their own dark council behind the scenes of the new Noxus Empire. The ambitious Vladimir eventually tried to leave the Black Rose to form his own cult, leaving LeBlanc as the sole commander of the cabal. Thus, the history of the Black Rose continued, but only those determined to follow the secret interests of the Pale Woman were worthy to coexist with her. A little later, a very interesting personality joined the organization, Elise. Before she turned into, let's say, a spider-like creature, she was an ordinary young girl. This girl, like a true Noxian, had a thirst for power. After her arranged marriage to behold Tavern, Elise completely dominated him, and although he remained the face of his house, it was clear who was in charge. Over time, his resentment grew. One afternoon, Berhold poisoned Elise, and they had a family quarrel. Using her cunning, Elise obtained the antidote and killed her husband at the same time. Even with the antidote, Elise was bedridden for several weeks, and that is when the Pale Woman, LeBlanc, approached her. The mysterious mistress of the organization told her about a secret society where hidden knowledge and magic were passed on to those who could be trusted and hidden from those who could not. To be honest, the Pale Woman did not care who controlled each of the noble houses, as long as they were sworn to her. Since Elise had killed Berhold, who was loyal to LeBlanc, she would now have to prove her own worth, or a more suitable replacement would be found. Seeing a path to greater power, Elise, like so many before her, entered into servitude. She often met with the most prominent members, exchanging influence and frustrating her rivals in a complex web of intricate schemes. With the wealth of the two houses, there were few who could stand up to her, and she became even more adept at convincing others to do her bidding. Eventually, she learned about an object of great importance to the Black Rose, the skull of an ancient warlord known as Sanuzal. During his lifetime, this name was borne by the well-known Mordekaiser. According to rumors, the skull was long hidden on the Shadow Isles. Feeling like winning the favor of the Pale Woman, Elise went to the cursed city of Helia. While she was looking for the lost vault, she discovered something she did not expect. A creature from the long-forgotten past dwelt in the hopeless depths beneath the city. This monster was a spider god named Vilemaw. The creature sensed its prey and sank its fangs into Elise's shoulder. Gasping from the agony of transformation, she turned and saw her new master towering over her. It was because of this encounter that Elise's appearance became the way we see it in the game. After returning to Noxus, Elise regained her human form. Although no evidence of the warlord's skull was ever found, the Pale Woman saw Elise's dangerous new gift for what it was, a means of safe travel between Noxus and the Shadow Isles. An agreement was reached whereby the Black Rose would provide Elise with endless, unwitting sacrifices to offer to the Spider God, and in return she would return any artifacts of power she could find on these dark, inaccessible shores. Conflict with Boram Darkwill. Back to the present day. Right now, Noxus is ruled by Boram Darkwill, who was put on the throne, so to speak, by the Black Rose. They helped him secretly seize power and carefully selected his advisors. These advisors were people from the Blanc's circle, but Darkwill did not accept them, forcing the Pale Woman to take radical measures. Unable to come to terms with LeBlanc, Darkwill manipulated a young nobleman named Jericho Swain to uncover the plots of a cult that threatened his power. Swain personally executed the most prominent conspirators. Among them were his own parents, whose whispers about the Pale Woman were the first to warn him of the danger to Noxus, which he valued more than his home or family. However, LeBlanc's execution was an illusion, part of a larger plan. Thus, Darkwill's actions played a big joke on him, and soon everything would not go according to his plan. Not at all. And yes, we do understand how strong the Black Rose leader is now and how influential her allies are. We also understand that LeBlanc will always strive to take a place next to the government, and the fact that she was rejected by Boram will only start a new wave of intrigue that will lead to a coup d'etat. And it is here that we can assume that the events in Arcane take place in the period preceding the Noxian coup. But how is the Madada family connected to the Black Rose? First, we need to understand what is happening with the clans in Noxus and how everything works there. The Madada family and Noxian clans. The Madada clan is one of the noble houses of Noxus. The noble houses, in turn, are aristocratic families that have existed since the first walls were built around Noxus. These families lead a life of high privilege, as they play a key role in the politics of the empire. But still, many of them wanted more power, plotting against Boram Darkwill with an organization called the Black Rose. and the old noble family still wield considerable power in the heart of the empire. Our very house Madada is also a noble family, originally from Rockrand, historically known as a family of traders along the Shariman coast. Since then, it has achieved immense power and wealth in the Noxian Empire, rivaling even the oldest noble houses. The family's influence even extends beyond the empire, as it has strong ties to powerful trading clans in Piltover, such as the Pharaoh's clan. So it is no wonder that the Madada family has become entangled with the Black Rose. It is clearly not all that simple, but in order to avoid spoilers for Arcane, for those who have not yet watched it, I propose we return to the history and chronological events in which the Black Rose is involved. Manipulations and downfall. After the failed execution of LeBlanc, she herself subsequently turned to Darkwill and discovered that the ruler was becoming increasingly paranoid and afraid of his own death. By promising him the secrets to prolonging his life, LeBlanc slowly poisoned Darkwill's mind even as she gave him power. Under his rule, the Noxian worship of power became something much more sinister. Also, a cruel warlord named Cyan played a role in this. In his lifetime, he was the last of the proud warrior culture that defined early Noxus. He became famous as the Hand of Noxus, an unstoppable general in a campaign to expand the empire. He finally met his end in battle with King Jarvan I of Demacia, and these two men killed each other. As Noxus fought wars on too many fronts, covered in magical relics, the aging Darkwill was clearly becoming unbalanced. Noxian dominance had declined in the years since the death of the famous brutal warlord Cyan, and Boram Darkwill was willing to pay almost any price to restore his lost glory. The Black Rose reanimated the long-dead hero using forbidden magic and introduced him to the Grand General. He could not refuse this gift, and so Cyan came back to life, driven by an unnatural thirst for blood and completely immune to pain. He rushed forward like a living battering ram at the enemies of Noxus, destroying everything he encountered. More than before his death, the victories brought by Cyan were costly. He was uncontrollable, killing friends and enemies without remorse, and those who were forced to fight alongside him began to desert. Finally, Darkwill ordered Cyan to be reburied. When Noxus invaded Ionia, Darkwill began to act even more brazenly, redirecting entire units to search for anything that could, according to rumors, prolong the lives of mortals. In this way, LeBlanc and Darkwill ensured that the legend of Swain would end in disgrace at the Battle of the Placidium. But as Swain lay on the brink of death after his arm was cut off by the Ionian blades of Aurelia, a raven approached to feed, and Swain felt the old familiar darkness pressing down on him again. But he would not let it take him. Looking into the bird's eye, Swain saw a reflection of the cult he had thought he had left behind. The Black Rose, the Pale Woman, and her puppet emperor. Swain realized that he had not defeated the hidden conspiracy, and the Black Rose had plotted his downfall by manipulating Darkwill, the man they had failed to overthrow. All of this was not seen in the Raven's mind, but in something greater, an ancient demon that preys on the dying and absorbs their secrets. Kicked out of the army for his quote-unquote failure and considered nothing more than a cripple, Swain decided to change the past. He set out to uncover the darkness that lurked within the immortal bastion. Peering into that darkness, he saw something that even LeBlanc could not see, a way to master that darkness. The case of Rel. In addition to being a master of intrigue and manipulation, the Black Rose also ran an academy for children born with magical powers to create living weapons. One such unfortunate child who fell into LeBlanc's clutches was a girl named Rel. Seeing Rel as a weapon that could one day stand up to Noxus' most hated ancient creature, Mordekaiser, the Pale Woman visited the family with a dark deal. Rel soon found herself a student at this special academy, hidden away from the capital and from the prying eyes of the council. Rel was first forced to fight another student when she was 8 years old, and afterward, a kind of a magical symbol was painfully implanted in her arm to enhance her powers so that she could become even stronger. And then, things went wrong for the Black Rose. On her 16th birthday, after a particularly barbaric duel, Rel finally realized that she had had enough. She broke into the forbidden wing of the academy, discovering the true nature of her school. Every opponent she defeated was quote-unquote nullified. Their magic was forcibly extracted from them and placed in the same sigils that covered Rel's body. It also turned out that Rel's mother worked as a supervisor at the academy. In a fit of rage, the girl destroyed the academy and went on a crusade to destroy the Black Rose and Noxus in general, as they had allowed these atrocities to continue for the longest time. The Black Rose tried to erase any trace of what their organization had done, but it was too late. Soon, the surviving teachers began to die in increasingly public ways, and the atrocities at the school could no longer remain secret, and Rel was declared a threat to Noxus. In order to bring Rel back, LeBlanc used a number of methods, including manipulating the famous mercenary Samira through her instructor Indari. As the Black Rose struggles to put their plan together, Rel's crusades across Noxus constantly put their reputation in jeopardy, the coup d'etat. But the icing on the cake was the coup d'etat. Although careful preparation had taken 3 years, Swain and his remaining allies, including Draven and General Darius, seized power over Noxus overnight. Physically restored by the demon, he destroyed Darkwill in front of his supporters, leaving the throne ruined and empty. The new Grand General was not interested in his own legacy, but in the glory of the Empire. It would make sense that a man like him could not be easily taken under control and manipulated. After countless centuries and now seeing Swain, LeBlanc wonders if she has finally found a worthy archenemy. Swain sees the future of Noxus as strength through unity. He accepts anyone who is willing to swear allegiance to the Empire, even the Black Rose, whom he hates, although Swain knows that they are still secretly plotting against him. Nevertheless, the Black Rose continues to exist and weave intrigues from the shadows around the world. We don't know the rest of its story yet. So, friends, what do you think of this mysterious story? Do share your impressions in the comments. I would also be very grateful if you could support me by putting the likes and doing the subscription thing. After all, you, my friends, are like a glass of delicious ale that inspires me to tell even more stories. In the meantime, I'm saying goodbye to you guys. See you next time in my tavern.